Trumpageddon, Episode 5. And the 7 angels which had the 7 trumpets prepared themselves to sound. The first angel sounded, and there followed hail and fire mingled with blood, and they were cast upon the earth, and the third part of trees was burnt up, and all the green grass was burnt up. Revelation 8, 6-7. There was nowhere to go but up. So up Eliphaz flew. Some guardian angel he turned out to be. A drunk driver had killed Gemma, and now he'd somehow lost her soul as well. Was it too much to hope that she had risen into the light and was safely in heaven already? Was there any way to find out? Could he ask God himself? Eliphaz couldn't remember ever meeting God, but he knew from scriptures that none could bear his holy countenance. Everything felt so foggy and soggy in his mind. Was it a result of the attack by those other angels? Had the demon Laraj cast some spell on him? Higher he flew, with a self-loathing anger burning in his chest. He had failed Gemma. That much he knew. Would he face punishment? He had to seek authority. He was now so high his angelic perception could survey the majority of Texas. As he gazed below, his heart grew white-hot with pride at the sight of the thousands of steeples that dotted the land. He could see that very few of the churches actually had humans inside. Of course it's Woden's Day, he mused, but he saw that the larger churches were still active. One near the coast dwarfed almost all the others. Surely this must be where the most faithful of God's children worship. He zipped down near the sacred building, traveling hundreds of miles in an instant. As he approached, Eliphaz peered through the roof and noticed many angels and demons milling about. Demons? In a church? And the other angels ignored them. It was a simple matter to locate the pastor. He was protected on either side by 2 gargantuan archangels. The pastor angrily barked orders at 2 other humans who were in the process of filling a row of black suitcases with handfuls of cash they were pulling from a hole in the wall. Eliphaz floated above in confusion as the minutes passed. Got a death wish there, Shiny? Eliphaz whipped around to see a bright red demon frowning as he counted the glowing red capsules dropping from his hand into a knapsack. Definitely not, Eliphaz warned as he drew his sword. The demon laughed calmly and explained, "Slow down, Punchy. I'm not threatening you. Just wondering what you expect to happen when those angels over there notice you're not supporting your sigil." Again, with these sigils, the angels who attacked him before had also mentioned them. I haven't seen a halo like that in a few hundred years. Did you just pop out of the abyss? When did you die? The Constantinian Wars? I haven't died. At least, I don't remember dying. Well, you're going to if you stick around here much longer. That's ridiculous. I have questions for the angels. I can't waste any more time on your kind. Spizz off then, your descent. The demon spat back at the insult and wandered off, hailing a smaller angel who approached with a wary eye on Eliphaz. How many? The demon asked. Eliphaz left them to their business and floated down to the large angels. As he drew near, he warped his halo into the sigil of Uriel he had seen crowning the heads of his angelic attackers from before. Ho, friends, what news? The angels calmly turned their gaze to Eliphaz with derisive sneers. What do you want? One retorted. Well, fellow servants of God, I'm in need of some guidance and perhaps assistance, if you would be so kind. This isn't a charity, beggar, one angel said with a snort. How rude! You call yourselves servants of the Most High? God would be appalled at your behavior. The scriptures dictate kindness to strangers. One angel guffawed while his partner seemed to grow dark and angry. Another of Uriel's spies. Take his head. Eliphaz drew his sword and enlarged his form to match his opponent's. He easily parried a thrust, sending the angel's flaming blade into the eyes of his partner. He screeched and tore feathers from his own face, flailing to the ground in agony. Barshiel! The first angel flew at Eliphaz again in an unfettered rage, pounding Eliphaz's defending sword. As the final blow came down, Eliphaz swooped aside, grabbed his enemy's arm, yanked him forward, and severed his wings. As he fell to earth, Eliphaz saw Barshiel fleeing to the sea to quench the flames still searing his face. Eliphaz slowly descended to his attacker, leveling his sword at the angel's eyes. This is the second time I have been attacked by my own kind. I demand answers or I'll send you to the abyss. You harlot sludge, you see this? The archangel pointed at his sigil. You just attacked two of Metatron's top strongmen. I am Muriel of the Crown. That's our top earner in the States. He pointed to the pastor now loading his mammon into his sports car that cost more than most of his parishioners' homes. Your life won't be worth a spiz when Metatron hears of this. Take me to this Metatron, Eliphas ordered. The archangel laughed with eyes full of hate. He spit at Eliphas. Eliphas severed his head and Muriel disintegrated into the abyss. He scanned his surroundings and was amazed to find none of his fellows the least concerned. Lesser angels and demons still conversed and fed off the souls of the humans milling about. The pastor sped onto the road at twice the speed limit and was gone. Still, he had no answers. Even the demon he'd spoken to had wandered off. Herein lay his problem, he realized. Big church did not mean holy church. Clearly, this was a hypocritical hive of scum and villainy. He needed to find a real Christian pastor, speak to his guardian angel. Then he'd get some answers. Eliphas rose into the sky again. The White House. Donald sat in the dining room watching Fox and fuming. Those who had once carried his water on the big lie had now turned against him and were speaking the truth about his mass deportations. You're right, Jessica. Despite what we were promised, deportations have dropped to next to nothing in the U.S. since the Trump administration started, yet we're seeing legal and illegal migrants arrested in large numbers. But what is your point? Well, Greg, if you were to look at where they are held, the only logical conclusion is that Donald Trump is sending them to rot indefinitely in private prisons to enrich his oligarch buddies who own those prisons. That's a bold accusation, Jessica. Yeah, given the situation, I'd say I just risked my job, my freedom, and frankly my life, Greg. But this is America. This nation was built on immigration and on the concept of freedom and free speech. In his first 100 days, we have seen the Trump administration seize the licenses of all major news networks, including CNN, MSNBC, and even C-SPAN, for God's sakes. I am the only one left to speak out. We all know Newsmax and OAN are filled with orange-lipped sycophants who wouldn't dare tell the truth. Another dining room television met its fate as Donald hurled his breakfast of rare steak and ketchup at the screen. Bill, get in here! Attorney General Barr had learned to stay out of view but within earshot of the despot. He had been waiting just outside the open door for his inevitable summoning after Trump's morning television viewing. Yes, Your Majesty? Oh, I like that. Keep doing that. Trump's rage abated, only for a moment, then returned. Why is this filthy, lying traitor still on my airwaves? I told you to end this channel yesterday. It may take until Tuesday to finalize the charges and get Justice Cannon's sign-off, Your Majesty. Trump grunted. What about my money? How long is it going to take to transfer the funds from the traitors' accounts? We have to pay for all the prison funding, or these guys aren't going to stay in my corner long. We have already secured the accounts of Cuban, Buffett, and Gates. We are still in negotiations with Musk to determine whether he really will play ball, given that he's fled to South Africa again. Our hackers can pull the trigger at any moment. You're a barely incompetent idiot, Bill. I don't know why I gave you another chance. I would have put Rudy in if he weren't always falling down drunk. Well, nothing to say for yourself? Barr had frozen stiff moments ago and was spared hearing the scathing indictment. Good morning, Mr. Trump. Donald spun around, seething at the omission of his title until he saw the demon, Dantalion, standing over his shoulder. Barr remained frozen outside of Dantalion's time bubble as Trump fell to the ground and scrambled away in fear. You again! What do you want now? Just a little weather report, my friend, Dantalion sang through his devilishly beautiful white smile. Since your edicts declaring America a Christian nation, putting prayer back in schools and eliminating science classes, some 40,000 covens have sprung into existence across your nation almost overnight. 80,000 across the world. The vast majority dedicated to me, but also many other of the 72 demons of the Goetia, and not a few pagan churches for a handful of the 72 angels. Business is booming. Covens? Pagans? That's disgusting. You came here to gloat. Oh, far from it. I came to bring you your cut. Trump's eyes widened, and 𝚃𝚁𝙄𝙼 could see his soul energy surge with excitement as his greed dominated his spirit. How much? Your share is not in mammon, but I think you'll be pleased nonetheless. 𝚃𝚁𝙄𝙼 lifted his arm and dialed a few sigils into the holographic screen floating above it. A beam of brilliant rainbow-colored energy surged out of the moon and poured into the demagogue's bloated body. Trump's eyes glowed. The cancer in his colon died almost instantly. He felt stronger than he had in his 20s, stronger than an ox. Donald howled in delight. What have you done to me? Merely given you your due as the Antichrist. Trump shuddered at the revelation. The last order of business is the first trumpet, seal, and woe of tribulation. It should come at any moment. I assume you still have not read the text, so I'll just tell you that the prophecy of the falling mountain will most likely manifest as most of California and Tijuana falling into the ocean in the next week. But the specifics are up to Metatron. I imagine he will inform you soon enough. Donald was unconcerned. What about that watch? I asked you to bring me one. Did you? This is a piece of etheric engineering created by Merlin himself. They are not easy to come by. Give me that one then. 𝚃𝚁𝙄𝙼 laughed as his form faded out of existence to the sound of Donald's curses and pleas to bring one the next time. Ladies and gentlemen, now I'd like to welcome to the program a true American hero, the good guy with a bow and arrow, Gamma Guerra. Thanks for having me, Greg. We've all seen the classroom surveillance footage of your heroic act of bringing down that monster who attacked your school. What were you thinking in that moment? It's not something I like to focus on. Before I was able to take him down, the perpetrator killed 2 of my students and injured another. Every day of my life, I will wonder how many I might have spared if I hadn't doubled back for a weapon. I understand that, Mr. Guerra. But, of course, without a weapon, you may not have fared as well. Or I might have twisted his neck from behind. We'll never know. Mr. Guerra, do you support gun control laws now? Absolutely not. I think our president is 100% correct in arming and training teachers. If I had been carrying a gun, the situation would have ended before it began. And those children would... Mr. Guerra, the left says sensible gun laws would prevent. You are never going to keep criminals from getting weapons. And you also support these mass deportations despite being Latino yourself? My pregnant wife was killed by a drunken illegal immigrant. You're damn right I do. My race has nothing to do with my status as a legal citizen of the United States. My condolences, Mr. Guerra. I was not aware of that detail. Just to close, sir, have you heard of the president's interest in you and your case? He's mentioned you repeatedly since the tragedy, despite not having visited Uvalde. Yes, he has called me. Did he talk to you about this idea of you replacing Governor Abbott? Well, we already have a fine governor in Texas. I'm not qualified for that job. I understand that the president has issues with Governor Abbott and what he sees as disloyalty, but I have every confidence they will work it out. But within days, Donald Trump would pressure the Texas legislature to impeach and remove Abbott and replace him, assuring Gamma that his inexperience would not be a problem and that he would be guided every step of the way to making Texas great again.